Hey, what is going on, guys? Danny here. Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you're all doing well. So it looks like Nvidia actually released a statement regarding the whole launch fiasco surrounding the RTX 3080. And, rightfully so, a lot of people were quite pissed off, and there was a very angry crowd that got stirred up from the whole launch fiasco. And, a lot of people were demanding answers from Nvidia as to, what the heck happened? Why was the launch so devastating, like disappointing, and why was it so why was it such a disaster? Not from just Nvidia, but from a lot of their partners as well, from other retailers, whether you went to Newegg, whether you went to Amazon, wherever you were, and even in the world, it doesn't matter. It was so hard to get your hands on one of these cards, and that occurred for a whole bunch of various reasons. It was a combination of numerous things. So they actually released this statement, and they actually did a Q&A like they did for when they released the RTX cards, and people want to find out more information about them. So we'll go over some of these questions. We'll see what they have to say. I did briefly go over some of the stuff earlier, and yeah, the reason why I want to go over it with you guys was because some of the answers just really left me so baffled, and a lot of the responses they gave just came off as so short-sighted. I'm appalled by some of the responses these guys gave. So let's go over what they had to say, starting with their statement from this top. And at the top it says, GeForce RTX 3080 launch. What happened? You asked, we answered. Last week's GeForce RTX 3080's launch was simultaneously the best GPU launch ever and the most frustrating. Yeah, of course. The reception to our Nvidia Ampere architecture GPUs has been off the charts and driven interest to heights we've never previously experienced. A few examples compared to our previous launch: 4 times the unique visitors to our website, 10 times the peak web requests per second, and more than 15 times the outclicks to partner pages. We expected the best demand ever for the RTX 30 series, but the enthusiasm was overwhelming. We were not prepared for this level, nor were our partners. We apologize for this. Our community has asked questions in the past few days since the launch. Jensen's personal email has been flooded with requests to help. He wants everyone to know he's working with the team. I can imagine Jensen just sitting in his kitchen, looking at his emails, and just going through the bombardment of emails he has to go through with people asking him, "Hey Jensen, where's my RTX 3080? I tried to give you my money, but I just couldn't." But I mean, like, you see what I mean? Like, a lot of the stuff they're mentioning, we were not prepared for this level. Neither were our partners. We were expecting some of the best demand and they, kind of contradict themselves by saying that we expected the best demand ever, but then they follow up by saying we're not prepared for this level of interest, or, neither were our partners. And, just why? But whatever, we'll get more into that later on. So the next question they talked about was what happened. I was really excited for the GeForce RTX 3080, but the launch has made it near impossible to find one, and this is really disappointing. Exactly what I felt, exactly what I said. The demand for the GeForce RTX 3080 was truly unprecedented. We and our partners underestimated it. Over 50 major global retailers had inventory on the day of launch. Our retail partners reported record traffic to their sites, in many cases exceeding Black Friday. This caused crashes, delays, and other issues for our customers. We knew the GeForce RTX 3080 would be popular, but none of us expected that much traffic on the first day. This is such a stupid answer. Like, what do you mean you didn't expect this, or you underestimated it? Like, this coming from Nvidia just seems so short-sighted, and like, you would think, as big as Nvidia are, they would have some guys in their marketing team or their sales team, guys looking at analytics for previous sales and making proper future projections. This is a huge launch. Nvidia's the biggest player, the biggest manufacturer in the GPU market. They've got 80% of the market share, 80% of the mind share. So when they say stuff like, we and our partners underestimated it, we didn't expect this kind of interest, it just baffles me. It's just like, you should know. Like, 10 to 1 PC gamers that you talk to, often not, they're rocking Nvidia GeForce graphics cards as opposed to AMD. So yeah, it really just didn't make sense for them to say this. And here's the other thing. When they talked about how they underestimated this, they shouldn't have underestimated it, because Ampere was supposed to be one of the biggest launches this past decade. Turing was a huge disappointment. Nvidia even admitted this themselves, that Turing didn't really sell all that well because it wasn't a huge leap over Pascal. A lot of guys who were sitting on Pascal graphics cards, whether, that's your GTX 1080 or GTX 1080 Ti or GTX 1070, whatever it might be, even like Maxwell series graphics cards. I know there's still a lot of guys on Maxwell GPUs as well. Their interest for upgrading was definitely much higher than it was when Turing launched. Because like I said, Turing didn't bring about any, performance improvements other than, introducing ray tracing and DLSS and those extra features, which at that time weren't even, widely supported. But with the GeForce RTX 30 series, this is, a huge performance leap over the previous generations. And, Jensen, even in the stream himself, said, Pascal owners, it's safe for you guys to upgrade. And, they knew that themselves. They're admitting it. But then they contradict themselves with this statement by saying they underestimated it, which to me just doesn't make that much sense. Nvidia really should have known that, they were going to see a huge demand for these graphics cards. And, they should have been prepared because a lot of people were going to be really interested in this generation. And one of the things they mentioned was that, over 50 major global retailers had inventory on the day of launch. Define what that means. Do you mean having, several hundred cards for different models? Or do you mean just having inventory such that one store has like 2 graphics cards? Or I think, what was it? Like Canada Computers, a few of their locations only had 1 or 2 graphics cards from various SKUs. Some locations didn't even have anything. And then other big retailers here like Memory Express and Amazon Canada didn't even get stock at all. Like, you could place orders for it. They were taking pre-orders on the day of launch, but you couldn't actually put the item in your cart and check out with it and then, expect to receive it in the next few days. So then they mentioned, what's the overall GeForce RTX 3080 stock situation? This GeForce RTX 3080 is in full production. We began shipping GPUs to our partners in August and have been increasing the supply weekly. Partners are also ramping up capacity to meet the unprecedented demand. We understand that many gamers are unable to buy a GeForce RTX 3080 right now, and we are doing everything we can to catch up quickly. Keep checking in with your favorite retailer to be notified of availability. You may use the GeForce RTX 3080 product finder to find out available cards at your local retailers. So, I mean, they're saying they began shipping the cards in August, and, they've been increasing supply. And then, some of the AIBs that were reached out to, they actually even said that cards are supposed to be getting stocked every few days. That's all they said. Don't really know what exactly that means. It could be, a few cards every few days. But, I mean, when they say we began shipping GPUs to our partners in August, like, how many was that, though? Because from the looks of it, it definitely doesn't seem like they shipped that many to begin with. Now, obviously, this could be due to a whole bunch of reasons with everything going on in the world. Not really going to mention it. Warehouses, manufacturing facilities, they're operating at limited capacity. So it could be that yields and production just wasn't as high as Nvidia was hoping it would have been at the beginning. With that said, though, it's not really that transparent on why there wasn't that much stock to begin with. If they knew that stock was going to be extremely limited like this at the beginning, I would have been all for them, delaying the launch a bit. They announced the cards September 1st, and then the RTX 3080 was supposed to go on sale on the 17th. So what they could have done, they could have just delayed it a couple more weeks. I'm sure people would have been okay with waiting until the 1st of October, or even, the following week. Or what they could have done was just waited until the 3070 was going to come out too. I think everyone would have been fine with them taking that much time to release these cards if it meant that, availability was going to be better. But availability wasn't the only issue at hand, and there were some other things that were going on, such as bots and scalpers, which we'll talk more about later in the video. But to answer the question about what was going on with such low inventory, their next question does actually say that, and it says, why does availability start with such low inventory? Why not wait until more cards are produced? Exactly what I was just talking about. And it says, we have great supply, just not for this level of demand. It is typical for initial demand to exceed supply for our new GPUs. Our global network of partners are ramping up as hard as they can to get the new GPUs to more than 100 million GeForce gamers around the world. Our philosophy has always been to get the latest technology into the hands of gamers as fast as possible. As we race to build more GeForce RTX 3080s, we suggest not buying from opportunistic resellers who are attempting to take advantage of the current situation. So, what they're referring to here is people who, used bots and scripts and camped on the websites and scalped all these cards and are putting them on sites like eBay and selling them for several thousands of dollars more than MSRP. I did go over this briefly in my previous video where I was talking about, what a disaster this launch was, and, did show some of the listings from the website, from pages like eBay and, local reselling sites like, Kijiji. I don't know if you guys have Kijiji down south or any other places in the world, but Kijiji is a local used marketplace here in Canada, and I did see on the first day, literally a few hours after 9 a.m. Eastern, where people were selling RTX 3080s for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and that was just absolutely insane. And yeah, you can go on eBay and find these cards marked up several $1,000s higher too. I've seen cards as far as $40,000, $50,000 dollars, and it's hilarious. And one thing I will suggest to you guys is please don't buy from these scalpers. Even if you're insanely rich and you have so much money in the world, all the money in the world, just don't buy from these guys simply out of principle. It's just ridiculous. It only encourages them from doing more of this stuff, and it just ruins the market for everyone else because they're artificially increasing the value of these cards than what it actually is. They're ruining supply. Like, there are already supply issues, Nvidia even admitted to that, but it just makes a bad situation and just, makes it even worse. So it begs the question, what is Nvidia going to do moving forward? And they actually do start mentioning stuff like that as well, where it says, what changes are you making to the Nvidia store moving forward? As with many retailers, the Nvidia store was also overrun with malicious bots and resellers. To combat this challenge, we have made the following changes. We moved our Nvidia store to a dedicated environment with increased capacity and more bot protection. We updated the code to be more efficient on the server load. We integrated CAPTCHA to the checkout flow to help offset the use of bots. We implemented additional security protections to the store APIs, and more efforts are underway. I'm glad that, they're finally doing something and they're actually making a change and not, remaining ignorant and just saying, oh no, there's just a lot of demand, but you'll be fine, you'll get the card soon. They actually are admitting, bots and scalpers were a problem. And, they did infiltrate their store in a very, very malicious way. And unfortunately, before the cards even went on sale, they were already out of stock. Apparently what the problem was that Nvidia used Digital River, which has a checkout API. So a lot of scalpers bypassed the whole checkout workflow and just poked their orders right into the API. This actually happened before the listing even went live. Someone even leaked the item code before the page went public. So, the thing is, bots and these scripts are going to be performing way, way, way faster than, the humans will be able to. So by taking advantage of the API like this, these guys were able to get all set and ready before these sales even went live. So as soon as 9 a.m. Eastern hit, that's why you saw, the card go from notify me to out of stock instantly, because that's exactly what happened. It went out of stock before you even have a chance to check out with it. And then, they say they're making all these changes now. Why are you guys not proactive about this stuff? In this way, they're reactive, which is not the way to go about doing this kind of stuff. And not the right way to anticipate such a huge launch. Like I said, this was going to be a huge popular release for them, and you would think they would have their Nvidia store in a more dedicated environment already, as they're mentioning over here, and that they would have increased capacity and more bot protection. Like, they didn't even have a CAPTCHA on their actual website, so all they had to do was just set up the orders, and they already knew the item codes apparently, and so, it was just stuff like this where, why did you guys not think about this stuff before launch? It's just the short-sightedness is what resulted in this mess of a launch. And they further do elaborate on that as well. One of the questions was, you said the Nvidia store would have GeForce RTX 3080s at 6 a.m. on September 17th. Why did the store immediately go from notify me to out of stock? And their response was, at 6 a.m. Pacific, we attempted to push out the Nvidia store live. Instantly, the Nvidia store was inundated with over 10 times the traffic of our previous generation launch, which took our internal systems to a crawl and encountered an error preventing sales starting properly at 6 a.m. Pacific. We were able to resolve the issues and process orders later than planned. And, I did hear about this too. One of the sales forums I was on, it's a Canadian sales forum called Red Flag Deals, and some of the users who were still on the page, I was on that page at 9 a.m. and waited there until 9:30, 9:40, and I'm like, you know what, screw this, I'm done with this, I'm gonna look into some other options, and I closed that page. But there were other users who were obviously still dedicated to this launch and purchasing an RTX 3080 who did remain on that page a couple hours after, and some were reporting that around, I think it was 11 a.m. or 11:30 a.m. Eastern, that they did see the purchase sign, or the purchase button, and some people were actually able to check out. But ultimately, a lot of the RTX 3080s that were put up on sale at the time got scalped and got hit by bots. So only a few managed to get lucky around that time. And it sucked too, because they actually never even said anything about this. Like, hey, we're having some issues, so if you want an RTX 3080, just stay tuned. We're gonna update our website and make sure we get everything in working order. And they unfortunately never mentioned anything like that, so everyone was under the assumption that as soon as 9 a.m. hit and the card was listed out of stock, that was it. It was out of stock, and there was no chance of them getting another card until whenever it would be stocked back up. So it says that I saw individuals who use bots/scripts celebrating the purchase of multiple GeForce RTX 3080 GPUs. Did bots get all the available supply? And they say no. While individuals using bots may have shown images of email inboxes filled with confirmed orders, Nvidia has canceled hundreds of orders manually before they were able to ship. So that's good. I was hoping they would have audited those orders placed in by the bots and people who managed to get 40 or 50 or 20, however many RTX 3080s. And that was the other thing. Why did they not put a limit of one per person on the website? Like, it was funny because I saw people posting on their tweets, like the guys who were, gloating and bragging about being able to use their bots and scripts to buy these RTX 3080s. They were bragging about how they managed to get several of the RTX 3080s under one account. Like, that makes no sense to me. There should have been a one per person limit. That's so easy to implement, and yet they weren't able to do that right before launch. Again, it goes back to the whole thing. It's like, why did no one know about this? But at least they said they're now going over and reviewing all those orders, and they have canceled a few of these orders, and they have retracted some of that stock back, and that should add to their inventory. And I'm sure there were many orders that were canceled, and that should help replenish supply. But, it begs the question, when are we going to see those several hundred cards? But I guess they're going to put it up once they have the website all ready and done. As of now, I would prefer them to take as much time as they need to get their website set in order, to put all the security measures in place so that we can have another smooth go at this. Because it would suck to be able to be in the same situation again after all that. Why did the Nvidia store not have any preventative measures in place to battle bots, i.e. CAPTCHA? The Nvidia store had many behind-the-scenes security measures in place which proved sufficient for previous launches. This is the first time that we have seen bots at the scale and the sophistication. Since launch, we have been quickly working on numerous security upgrades, including CAPTCHA. We will also continue to manually monitor purchases to help ensure cards can get in the hands of legitimate customers. Again, it just goes back to the whole thing about, you should have known about this. It's the biggest launch. See, like, when they mention stuff like, since launch, we have been working quickly on numerous security upgrades, including CAPTCHA, this should have all been implemented before, not afterwards. You guys are being reactive here, not being proactive. This should have all been anticipated before, when hype is going to be this immense, and and the anticipation is going to be so high. All these security measures should have already been in place, and it's not like this is the first time that there's been so much hype surrounding a product. Like, this happened with the Nintendo Switch. In the sneaker world, it happens with brand new sneakers. It happens everywhere. It's not just the tech industry that this happens in. So Nvidia being this huge semiconductor company, that talks about making AI and making things easier for your life with AI, and you would think that they would have a sophisticated and a proper backend with the proper security measures, but apparently they did not. So one of the questions was, why did Nvidia send notify me emails knowing that RTX 30 Founders Edition cards were out of stock? We intended for the notify me emails to go out at around 6 a.m. with this targeted start of availability due to the extreme demand and site traffic. We were unable to properly process orders on time. The emails were held back until the errors were resolved later that morning. Still, inventory sold out very quickly, so we were sold out by the time people opened their emails. In retrospect, we should not have sent the notify emails. Well, duh. Obviously, if you knew your site was already such a mess, you shouldn't have authenticated that. And like I said, these notify me emails, it's not just Nvidia that has this. Newegg has it. Amazon has it. You can do it as an extra step, but honestly, I recommend if you are, in dire need of this RTX 3080 graphics card from one of the retailers, then you're unfortunately going to have to cap the website and, keep hitting refresh, and hopefully one of the times you refresh, the card's actually in stock and you'll be able to put in your cart and check out with it. But by the time you get these emails from the notify me button, the card will have already been long sold, so don't even bother. And yeah, that pretty much looks like their whole entire response to the situation. And I have to say, I'm not impressed. I'm not really that satisfied either. All of this could have been easily anticipated before launch of their graphics cards, and it was just pure laziness. Nonetheless, I'm happy that, they are starting to make changes, and that when the cards go on sale and they put up the inventory on their website, the checkout process should be quite a bit better, and that hopefully the cards go into hands of actual PC gamers and not just bots and scalpers. But this has just been one big disaster of a launch, and I would have really wanted Nvidia to be more proactive about this and, put all these security measures in the first place. And if they really needed to, if the new supply was going to be so bad, they should have really just delayed it. I don't know why they didn't delay it. It could be due to numerous reasons. Like I said, they are facing a lot of competition this time around. AMD have their big Navi desktop graphics cards coming out based on RDNA 2. They've also got pressure from the consoles. Nvidia looks like they ended up rushing this launch because they wanted to be first to the market and make a big splash and say, hey, look, we've got these powerful graphics cards, and if you want to play Cyberpunk with ray tracing, go out and build a PC and buy one of our graphics cards so you can do that. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say in regards to this whole launch fiasco and what Nvidia's statement said. So moving forward, I know you guys are all also interested in buying some of these RTX 3080 graphics cards and the upcoming graphics cards, and when those cards launch, hopefully launches better, and as stock comes in for the RTX 3080s, as your local retailers are replenished with stock, you guys are able to get your hands on one of these cards. I still haven't been able to get my hands on one of these cards. I've been, checking with some local retailers and suppliers, and working with some of my sources, and unfortunately, supply is really, really bad in Canada here. I haven't been able to get anything so far, nothing concrete, that is. But yeah, I wish you guys all the best of luck, and hopefully you guys are able to get one of these cards in your systems and are able to game.